In this video, I'm going to share with you 8 tips to make cleaner node trees and generally more workable setups. So let's get into it. This first tip might be really obvious, but Reroute nodes are really a must. On its own, it's only a small point, but you can also invoke it by holding Shift and dragging with the right mouse button pressed. This way you can make everything way cleaner, really easily, by drawing straight lines. Personally, I don't even like the look of the links when many of them are coming out of a node, because it might not be clear if it is going straight out of the node or if it is another node right under it, like in this case for example. So I like to put reroute nodes anywhere I have several links, like here, and I also use it to distribute the information to other points. So right here for example, it's not really clear as of now what's happening, but with a few reroute nodes, it can become way clearer. And you can also use it really easily to take one data line which is going straight through the whole setup like this one and putting it way out of the way, so you never have to think about it. The second tip is to use labels, and it is also really easy to combine this with the reroute nodes. So for example, this is my A side selection and this is the B side selection, and once it has been labeled, the label also appears on all the other operation of the reroute nodes on this data line, which makes it really easy to see what's going on. My third tip is that when you have a big computing step which is pretty much independent of the rest, like is the case right here, you can put everything into a frame, which will also make everything stick together and make everything way more readable by just pressing Ctrl J with your selection. This creates a frame, and as you can see, when the frame has been created, I can move everything like one single block, and of course I can label it, which in my case I like to do in all uppercases. So this for example is the compute seams attributes. Now you could also put some frames inside other frames, and to make it more visible, you can also put a custom color on the frames like so. My fourth tip is to hide all the inputs if you don't plan to use them later. So for example, in this case, I have 3 transform geometry nodes on 3 different data lines, but on all 3 of them I am only using the rotation input, and obviously the geometry input. Now I don't plan to use the other inputs, so here I can just hide everything else by pressing Ctrl and H, which will make everything way more compact, and thus also way more readable. You can do this on all kinds of nodes, so for example for this map range I can just hide the 2 other outputs I am not using because they are just 0 and 1. Here I can do the same for the transform geometry right here, and also you can combine this with the labeling, because those 2 nodes I am just subtracting a value of 1, which I will always do. I don't plan to change those values, so I can just hide the other input and rename it with the label subtract 1. So it is still clear what this node is doing without having the clutter of other inputs. Now this might be especially useful if, like me, you are working on really huge node groups which have dozens of inputs, even if they are stored in different panels on the modifier. When you are in the node group, you just have all the inputs right next to each other, which might be a really huge clutter, as you can see right here with all my input groups. So here you could just select all of them by hand and pressing Ctrl H, but because I do this quite often, and I also like to just unhide them at times, for this I just made a really small script which allows to automatically select all the group inputs and hide all the unused sockets, which makes everything way cleaner. And if you also plan to use these scripts, it is really simple, as you can see right here, but it is also available on my GitHub with all my other scripts for Blender. My fifth tip is to efficiently use capture attributes or store name attributes. So right here, don't pay attention to the switch node, but I am storing the normal data of the mesh on the point domain, because right after it, I am separating the geometry and removing the faces, so I only have some points, and capturing the attributes right here. Make sure that the normal data still exists on the point right after the separate operation. And here I use the capture attribute because I am only using this data for those 2 sample index nodes which are right after it. So this data line isn't very long. But right on top of it, instead of using capture attribute, I am using a bunch of store named attribute nodes because I am using the data which I am storing under those names in a bunch of different places all over the geometry node setup. At this step, for example, and also all the way inside this subgroup. So here, the named attribute prevented the use of many data lines right across my node setup from here to here, but also in a subgroup, it prevents me from having even more inputs and outputs in a case where they would always be the same, because I will only use these nodes in this specific context. Also, make sure to properly set the data type and the domain type of each attribute you are either storing or capturing, because a vector is way heavier than a float, which itself is way heavier than an integer value, itself way heavier than a boolean value. And also in the mesh, there are way more face corners than points, way more points than edges, and way more edges than faces. So this could have a great impact on the performance of your whole node setup. That is why in this case where I'm storing the attributes on the point domain, I am only choosing a really small selection, so I'm not writing the attributes on the whole mesh, but only on the parts where I need it, which makes it way more efficient. Also regarding efficiency, in order not to have several dozens of named attributes right after I am done with everything, in the case where I just need the named attribute in a specific context, I am always ending my node groups with a remove named attribute set to wildcard and removing all the named attributes where I put the cmtb_temp prefix. So this makes sure I only have the data I want left right after my node group. My sixth tip, which is in the continuity of the previous one, is to make good use of group inputs and outputs. So that means on one side, since the last few updates, to use the panels to properly store all the group input on the modifier tab and also on subgroups, so everything can be way cleaner if you don't use all the inputs. But also, even if my whole groups creates dozens of attributes, I'm only selecting a few of them that the user can set as outputs if there is some need to have customization to the names, for example, if the attributes needs to be used in the shader nodes and so on. But for a bunch of other attributes, I'm just setting the name myself because they are only used between two different modifiers on the backend, so the end user won't need to set all the names himself. Also, sometimes when I am developing a node group, I am setting some parameters as input, which I don't really need later because I either automated its computing or derived its parameter from another input. So in this case, I need to remove the input parameter, but just to make sure that if I remove it from the input, I don't break everything, I like to check if the parameter isn't still in use somewhere. For this, I made another really small script, which is also available on my GitHub with the other Blender scripts, which allows me to type the name of an input parameter, so for example, apply scale, and when I run it, it selects all the nodes which are using this parameter over my whole node group. So this is really useful for debugging. At one point, I also made another script which automatically copies all the input in a panel of a subgroup to the panel of the parent group and automatically copies all the default value, max, minimum value, and data type so that I can develop everything way easier if I need to expose all the parameters from one subgroup to the parent group, like in this case. So let's make a short demo of it. I'm just going to create quickly a new geometry node setup. Here I'm adding a subgroup which has a bunch of panels, and here I want to copy the data group to stitches to my geometry node setup, which is just called geometry nodes, and here I want the panel which is called animation settings. And now if I select both my subgroup and a group input node and run my script, it will automatically copy all the values, plug them together, and put this into a nice panel, which helped me quite a lot in developing my cloth sewing toolbox, which will be available pretty soon. The seventh tip I use all the time is to always have activated the snap mode set to grid so that I can always place all my nodes on a grid pattern. So that means that they will always all line up, and I find it way easier to make everything really clean using this instead of having to manually check if they are all aligned. And for my eighth and final tip, I recently noticed that when you are creating a group with some nodes, so for example if I group all this in a subgroup, here on the sidebar under the group setting, you can actually set the color tag to a bunch of different values. So here right now, my node group is just the default dark green color, which I find isn't really pretty, but you can actually go inside and change the color tag. For example, if you set it to geometry, it will appear as the green default geometry. Set to vector, it will be a purple color, attribute the dark blue, and so on. So this allowed me to change the color of all my subgroups and make a general node setup, which is way cleaner and allows me to check my different node groups way faster if I need to edit a float node group, a geometry editing node group, a vector node group, and so on. I really hope you found some of those tips interesting. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.